Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. My name is BrendenPlayz. Well, it's a big weekend coming up for BrendenPlayz. Of course, Survivor Series this weekend featuring the big clash, Team Raw versus Team NWO. We also have Team Edge versus Team Reigns in a triple threat match for the WWE Championship as well. Big show coming up. Really looking forward to it, and that's going to be my next plans over the next couple of days, getting that done and making sure it's the best it possibly can be. Personally, I'm really excited to show you guys that event, and just been recording it the last few days, and looks to be pretty good so far. So I'm really hopeful that it turns out to be a good one. And obviously, it's our second pay-per-view of WWE 2K18. I'm a little disappointed, I guess, that it's taken us this long to get to this pay-per-view, but you know, we went really hard at the first week or so, and then, you know, we've had a few things and kind of also chilled back a little bit on the videos, but also, you know, doing a few other things as well, and playing other games. You know, lots of new games come out, so it's always a difficult time of the year for me because I'm a huge gamer, and a lot of people say, you know, oh, you just played WWE 2K, oh, I didn't think you played other games, I didn't even think you played games. You know, that's the running joke, oh, BrendenPlayz, well, you don't actually play the game, so people call me, you know, Brendan Simulates or whatever the fuck. But I do actually play games, so when it's November, October time, it's really difficult for me, because sometimes, for example, Survivor Series, recording a pay-per-view can take days to get everything done, and I've had a lot of recording issues as well, so a lot of the footage that I've recorded hasn't worked, and I've had to redo it, so it's you know, it can take up a long time, which means I can't play any other games for a couple of days or so, and as we're going to talk about later on the show, I've been playing the new Need for Speed, and I've got a lot of other new games I've just started as well. It's an exciting time for me in terms of gaming, but also a little frustrating at the same time because I've got so many other videos I've got to get done. Can't quite play those games just yet. That's why I need two PS4s. And I kind of want to get a second PS4, I'm not going to lie. I would love to get a PS4 Pro, but I always felt as though with the PS4 Pro that they were going to bring out a new PS4 before, you know, the new PS5 anyway. So if I'm going to get another PS4, it probably won't be that long till they release an even better one to compete with the Xbox One X. So yeah, so I haven't got one yet. Would love to do so, but I haven't got one, and I don't know. Does it improve WWE 2K18? I mean, if it's that much of an improvement, maybe I should get one. But yeah, so I haven't got one yet. Probably won't. But yeah, so we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the latest in Raw and Smackdown this week. As I said, obviously Survivor Series coming up this weekend. We have some questions also to answer as well. Some questions that you guys send in from the Facebook, the YouTube comment section, also on the forums as well, BrendenPlayz.com/forums. Last few days on the forums have been really fun. I had a lot of great discussion back and forth on a number of different topics on there. You know, on the latest of Raw. You know, a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about on the podcast today, you know, Matt Hardy, Jason Jordan, Roman Reigns, the Mojo Rawley heel turn, a number of different things that we've been talking about lately on the forums, and of course on my Discord as well. You can access the Discord from the forums. So if you haven't already joined up to the forums, it's the best place to stay connected with BrendenPlayz, the best place to go ahead discuss the latest in wrestling with a lot of die-hard wrestling fans, not just WWE. We've actually got a lot of other people that watch some other stuff there too. We're not that big yet, but we're a small, tight-knit community, but lots of fun there. So if you haven't already, check that out. And also leave questions for the show there as well in the official Let's Talk Thursdays thread. All right, so let's get cracking into the show this week. Now, we may have a shorter show this week because I feel as though WWE right now are in cruise control, because watching Raw this week, it really felt as though that they were just treading water. Not a lot really happened. Lacked some star power. A few guys were not even on the show this week. Ambrose and Sheamus, for example, having a week off. No Lesnar. So it feels as though we're treading water a little bit just before the Royal Rumble season, and it is around that Christmas time, which often does mean that the shows are pretty crappy. Wouldn't shock me if the next couple of weeks of Raws and Smackdowns are pretty forgettable, and then the show after Christmas, not the Christmas Day Raw will be terrible, but the one after Christmas, they might start picking it up a little bit. I think Lesnar is advertised for December 16th. I think I read that on Twitter earlier, so that might be a decent episode. Maybe the last good one. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. It's certainly going to be interesting to see what they kind of do and how they go about it. But, yeah, so, like I said, it did feel as though Raw was missing a bit of star power. It just didn't feel like a big show at all. But a couple of major points happened on Raw. And we'll talk about the first one, and probably the one that everybody's been talking about the most, is Matt Hardy. So Matt Hardy had a match against Bray Wyatt and lost, and then he just snapped afterwards. And I think this is a perfect way to create Broken Matt. You know, he's been on a bit of a losing streak. He's been down. He hasn't had the wins that he would have liked. And it slowly led to this breaking point where he's now, boom, he's snapped. He's going to become broken again. So now maybe they'll run the storyline where he's trying to find himself again, try and find his true self. Maybe he turns into the Broken Matt, which is, he's, what he truly is. He's been trying to, have a big smile on his face, trying to, be his former self and smile for all the kids and be with his brother and be this nostalgia act, but that's not who he really is anymore. They could do something like that, easy, and then boom, Broken Matt is spawned from that. And I think it's going to be exciting. Now, do I think it's too little too late? Almost. I think if they had waited any longer, I think people would not have cared. It's been a while now. The Hardys returned in WrestleMania, so it's been seven months since they've been back. They had a nice little tag team run. They did well with the tag titles and had some good matches with Sheamus and Cesaro. Absolutely. But once they lost those titles, once they were out of the title picture, haven't been doing much. Jeff went down. Matt Hardy's been really doing nothing. Had a little thing with Elias, not a lot. They teased maybe Jason Jordan, Matt Hardy together. They didn't go with that. So not a lot's been really happening for Matt. So I guess he and the WWE have just been waiting for this legal battle to sort. And looks as though the legal battle is now officially over. I guess TNA Impact have decided to finally, let this go. Which, if you're Impact, I guess it's probably not worth fighting for it anymore. And also, if Matt Hardy is going to use it, really, the luster of it's gone. It's been a long time now since we've seen it. And WWE fans haven't seen it at all. TNA fans, and now, of course, people who watch the same, who also watch TNA and WWE, probably forgotten about it for a while, forgotten about Matt Hardy. They've moved on to other people. It's not as popular right now as it was before he came in. So, really, it's not a bad time to let it go. They've waited long enough, and now any excitement, any interest in Matt Hardy has basically been gone. Now, there will be some excitement generated from this, and I'm sure people will be interested and intrigued to see how this goes. But I guess if you're TNA, they probably made the right choice for their own personal sake, that they've waited this long. Now, all right, we'll give it to them, but realistically, any interest has kind of really faded. So, yeah, not a bad business move from them, I guess. But the thing is, can Broken Matt succeed in WWE? Obviously, he had full creative control. He did whatever the hell he wanted in TNA, and it was magic. He did a lot of the stuff himself, a lot of the storylines, and a lot of the planning of the final deletion and those types of things. He kind of did all that, so it makes me wonder, will WWE go to that level? Will they really put that much time and investment in this to make this work? Or will they allow Matt Hardy to have a lot of creative control? Will they allow Matt Hardy to do what he wants? Will we see the Hardy compound again? These types of things. Will the WWE just let Matt Hardy film and record it all himself and maybe kind of approve it or disapprove it, change a few things? Maybe they'll do that. But realistically, I'm sure WWE will just, do a really watered down version of it all. WWE will have their writers write for it and create it, and I'm sure it's probably going to be not as good as we imagine, and probably will be a poor man's version of it, which will be a shame, because Matt Hardy, let's be honest, he's never really been given the ball as a singles from WWE. He's never a world champion. Well, I think he was an ECW champion, if that counts. Was he even an ECW champion? I feel like he was. Never really given the ball as a singles, never really saw him as a world championship caliber superstar. So, the thing is, will they go to that much effort for him, considering they don't feel as though he's that big of a name, or worthy of that big push, plus of his age as well? Will they put this much effort into this character? Will they really try and get this over? I don't know. And not only that, it is not a WWE creation, and WWE doesn't really like to do much with things that they don't own or they didn't create. So it's quite possible that they might just, say, all right, Matt, you can be broken, but we're not really going to do much with it. So you can do the chant, do the catchphrases, and that's about it. Maybe that's all we get. Maybe he gets to dress up and look like he did and look deranged like he was. But I don't know if we're going to get the backstage stuff or we're going to get the compound stuff. Surely we probably won't get the family involved, that kind of thing. But to be honest, if they really wanted to get this up and running, I think Bray Wyatt would be the perfect opponent to start this feud off. Bray Wyatt's also doing nothing as well. Bray has had a really... when you think about Bray Wyatt, he's been on the main roster, I think, for 5 years now and really has done absolutely nothing. It might be 4 years, but really has done nothing. Nothing at all. He won the WWE title for some reason. I don't know why, and just to lose it. And they push, stop, start constantly. They've given him Wyatt family members, taken them all away from him, given it back, taken it all away. It's just been up and down for Bray Wyatt. And to be honest, it's so up and down that I don't know if he can ever really recover and become that top heel anymore. His promos, they're okay, but it's, sometimes they just have really no meaning and just loses the crowd all the time. But I think a feud with Matt Hardy, if done well, would really be successful for both Bray and Matt. I think, Bray could talk about how he's, made Matt broken. And to be honest, if they really wanted to do something, I reckon Bray and Matt Hardy would be a great tag team. Now, I don't know if they want to have Matt team with anyone else other than Jeff. But, and then also, alright, we'll get to this moment, but also, you could lead this to Jeff Hardy coming back and having a feud with Bray, but you could kind of have Matt Hardy and Bray feud for a while, similar to what they did with Randy a little bit, but very different. You'd have Matt Hardy feud for a while with Bray and slowly becomes broken, and Bray's responsible for him becoming broken. Maybe bring back Jeff Hardy and he's fighting Bray to try and, get his brother back and try and get this, I guess, spell away from Matt or something. I don't know. That would be kind of, I could see WWE doing something like that. I don't know if they want to pair them together. But in saying that, if they want to have them as just rivals, perfect rival, I think, to start off Broken Matt. Two guys can go back and forth on the mic, kind of would have similar type of characters. And if they wanted to do the compound stuff, Bray would probably be the perfect guy to do it. Maybe Matt goes to Bray's compound or vice versa. They could do a few of the things there for sure. I think Bray would be a really good character to start things off. Better than it'd be better than a Jason Jordan, for example. I think Bray would probably be the right guy. But I hope this is something for Matt. Look, I was never a major fan of Broken Matt. I followed it a little bit. I watched the the deletion shows, the specials that they had. I watched them. I thought it was a bit weird. I thought it wasn't for me. I guess looking back on it now, I can appreciate it a little bit more, but still was never a major fan. So I'll come into this with an open mind, but I'm certainly not. I'm not jumping up and down in excitement in terms of this. I think there's other guys on the roster that I'm more excited about and want to see them do more with. But look, it's an opportunity for Matt, and if this is really a successful gimmick, if this is going to really generate money, we'll find out. We'll find out now. They're going to go with it, and we'll see how it goes. But I think if anyone is expecting this gimmick to be the next big thing and be the greatest thing on Raw, I think you're going to be really upset about that, because I don't really expect too much from this. I really believe WWE will maybe give it some attention for a month or two, but then slowly fade away, and a lot of things will be taken away from him, and it just won't be the same. I would like to be wrong. Speaking of other guys on the roster, Elias this week on Raw, he stood up and had a big matchup against Roman Reigns for the Intercontinental Championship Open Challenge. Love this match between the two, and really, I've been saying right from the get-go, ever since Elias debuted on Raw, that this guy has got something. I remember when he debuted, a lot of people shitting all over it, from the songs to his in-ring stuff, and I said from day one that he debuted on Raw, you can go back and see it, that this guy is great. I loved his aggression in the ring. I like the look and the size of him. He's got that credibility there. He gets a lot of heat from the songs that he does, and I find them entertaining as well. He plays well off the crowd. He knows what he's doing out there, and it's successful. Look, it's not a gimmick that I can see becoming a world champion, but certainly it's a great way to get him started and put him on the map, and it has done that. And I think WWE is starting to kind of see him a little bit differently. They haven't had a lot for him to do as of late, which is disappointing. He's sometimes not on Raw. If he's working a pay-per-view, it's kind of a pre-show. But I would love for WWE to start really using and seeing him as the talent that he is. It's weird because some weeks they will give him 10, 15 minutes to do a song and a promo. But other weeks they won't even have him on the show at all. So he's really up and down a little bit at the moment. But maybe working with Roman Reigns, having the great match that he had with Reigns. Reigns was good as well. Maybe this is the start of something for Elias. Maybe they'll say, okay, this guy's pretty good. Let's do something with him, because I really think, when I'm looking at Raw, he is one of the bright spots on that show. Absolutely. I've been a big fan of Elias since, like I said, since day one, coming to WWE. Didn't see much in NXT. I only really saw him at a house show. And I could just remember him getting booed out of the building. Everybody hated him in the building. And from then on, I've been a fan. So, looking forward to seeing what they do with him. But, yeah, great match against Reigns. Reigns doing the open challenge thing, I don't mind it. I think, whilst Lesnar's not really going to be on the show much, this is a way for WWE to have some big matches on Raw. And not only that, they don't have a pay-per-view until Royal Rumble for Raw. So that's quite a long time for a brand not to have a pay-per-view in WWE. That's 2 months. So WWE probably doesn't really have any idea how to fill these shows in, which is probably another reason why Raw didn't really feel that great, because they've got so much time now. They don't know what to do with it. They don't book for time. They just kind of, all right, week by week, we really, they book for a pay-per-view 1 month at a time. So now that they've got 2 months to do, they don't know what they're doing. It's too much time for them. They're going to struggle. So maybe the next few weeks will be kind of poor. And like I said, once January comes around, it might start to pick up a little bit, especially around that 25th anniversary show. That's when Raw might get really interesting. But yes, bit of cruise control this week. Speaking of Reigns, looks as though he and Samoa Joe could be the next little feud going on, the major feud right now on Raw. As I said, with Lesnar gone, they're going to treat the IC title as the major championship for the next couple of months, and maybe Lesnar might not even compete at the Royal Rumble. We've been hearing rumors about that that Vince can't find an opponent for him because Finn Balor's not over enough for him, so nobody's good enough to face Lesnar at the Rumble, apparently. But whilst Lesnar's gone, this is going to be a big deal for WWE trying to push this IC title, and Reigns being given the belt as a way to kind of keep this championship relevant, and also use it to main event house shows and used to generate some interest on Raw. Samoa Joe is the next man to face Reigns for it. I think it would be cool. Would love to see Joe win it. I mean, yes, I would love to see Joe as a world champion, but if an IC champion for a while would be cool. I think there'd be something for him. Certainly around WrestleMania time, it's very difficult to get the world title. If Lesnar wasn't going to drop it to Strowman or Joe earlier on the year when both of them were on fire, it's not going to happen around WrestleMania time. So that's the issue. WrestleMania, really, your champions are locked in, and they go from there. Nothing's really going to change those plans. So that's when the upper mid-card titles, such as the US and the IC, come in handy, because guys that probably deserve a world title run at the moment, they can win the IC or the US and kind of have that little run there and get them ready for the world title. Would love to see Samoa Joe in that role. Definitely would. And last but not least, Jason Jordan. Now, we're going to spend a bit of time on this one. Jason Jordan. Since we haven't done a show for a while now, Jason Jordan has kind of really rubbed people the wrong way. Now, it's interesting to see how he's been developing. Obviously, a few months ago, he was revealed as the son of Kurt Angle. They didn't really do a lot with it at first. They kind of forgot about it for a while, but now recently they've been really amping it up and giving Jason Jordan a lot more TV time, more matches, more promos, giving him more of a push. Now, it certainly seems as though a heel turn is coming. I think it's quite obvious that he's been faking the injuries every single week, and I think it's coming very soon that Kurt Angle's going to find out that he's been faking it. He's going to get medical, going to go see the doctor and probably get proof that he's not actually injured. He's just been faking it so to get out of all these matches he's been put in. This and this and this, and probably will slowly lead to him turning on Kurt, which I think is fine. I think that's probably what we've been looking for. And obviously, as an out, they can easily say, hey, I made the whole thing up. I just really wanted you to, to pay attention to me. I used you as a way to get my career going. I'm not actually your son. And then maybe a WrestleMania match between the two, and probably Kurt Angle will win. But I think that would be fine. A lot of people don't like Jason Jordan, but if they went with that storyline, with the slow build to it, I think that would be a nice story to be told at WrestleMania and a good match for Kurt Angle. I don't really see any other match for Kurt Angle right now. I mean, unless they want to do a Triple H match or a Shane McMahon match. I don't know if many people want to see that, but then again, I don't know anyone who wants to see Jason Jordan and Kurt Angle. But to be honest, I wouldn't mind Kurt and Triple H. I mean, it's a kind of a nostalgia feud going back in the day, reliving it one more time. Probably won't be a great match, considering the matches they've had in the past. But I would be against it. I like both of those guys. But if they want to have Kurt in a more of a prominent role and work with a younger guy, Jason Jordan's probably the one. So it's a slow heel turn coming. I think it probably won't happen this month, maybe next month or after the Rumble. Soon it will begin to happen. That heel turn will take place. But look, Jason Jordan's promos are not good. They're not great. His in-ring stuff, though, is good. I like his in-ring stuff. I think he's had some good matches. I saw him in a live event a couple months ago, and he was really good. He was really, really good. He had 2 matches, I think, on the show. He had a lot of time in the ring, and he was really good. He impressed me. The crowd booed him to begin the show, but by the end of the show, they were cheering him because of the great moves he was doing in the ring and the matches that he was having, the effort that he put in, which is interesting. I think getting him over by his ring work was probably their plan. Hasn't quite worked. Now they're going in the promo direction by having him cut these whiny promos and slowly turning him and setting him up for a turn. It's an interesting direction they're taking, but it might be a successful one for him. I think a heel turn probably won't be the saving grace for him. I don't think it will take him to the next level, but I think it will be the step in the right direction. I just think he's lacking the promo ability to really move up the card. But a heel turn wouldn't surprise me if he won the IC title, something like that as well. Would probably make more sense that he gets drafted back to Smackdown after WrestleMania, because if he does have a feud with Kurt Angle, and Angle's still the GM, then why would Angle want to keep him on Raw? So possible that could be his future next year. But, we'll see. But I'm a fan of Jason Jordan to a degree. I don't hate him. I know a lot of people despise him, and he's been getting booed lately, slowly getting the Roman Reigns treatment. I don't hate him. I think he's not my favorite, but I think he's improved. I think he's done pretty good the last few months. I just think forcing him to cut these bad promos every week, sounds like he's going to cry every time he's on the microphone. It's not great, but if it does lead to a turn and a big match at WrestleMania for him, it might be all worth it for him. We'll have to wait and see. But that's your Raw, I guess you could say, recap. There are a few things I've been on my mind about Raw. Speaking of Raw, I guess, the Cruiserweights. Now, this is an interesting one. Now, this is obviously a rumor, and, well, not even a rumor, but speculation, that 205 Live could be cancelled soon. Now, I say this because WWE sent out a survey to a few people, whoever gets the surveys, and they asked this: why have you not watched or are not regularly watching 205 Live? Please select all that apply. Alright, so I will read out the options here. There's quite a few. So first up, the Cruiserweight stars on the show not that interesting. No, yeah, check. Not interested in the Cruiserweight division. Yep, check. The storylines are not engaging. Yeah, check. Matches are repetitive. Yep, check. Prefer watching other WWE Weekly shows instead. Yes, check. There's too many shows. That's the thing. There's so much content. If you wanted to watch Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and 205 Live, oh my god, you got to just dedicate your whole life to WWE. And plus, if you're a wrestling fan, you might watch Impact or Ring of Honor or these other shows, New Japan. Wrestling can consume your life. It's a lot of work. So, and sometimes, for a show that's not great, you're not going to go out of your way to invest an hour every week to a show that's not really good. The other options here as well, I've been planning to watch 205 Live, but just not had time. Well, I think if you've been planning it to watch for a year and you haven't had time, you don't really want to watch it. Watching cruiserweight matches on other WWE shows is enough for me. Yep, check. 205 Live slips on my mind / I forget to watch it. No, I know it's there. I just choose not to watch it. I don't want to watch it. Cruiserweights do not have a significant role in WWE pay-per-view events / Raw. Well, yeah, they don't. They're on the pre-show most times, so they expect us to care for it, but yet on their big shows, they don't get the exposure. The announce team is not that interesting. I don't know. I think the announce team might be fine. I know they got a new play-by-play, and Nigel McGuinness is there, so it's probably pretty good. Prefer to watch other non-WWE shows? Yes, definitely. Check. I watch Raw and Smackdown, and after that, I like to watch something else. Sport, or, go on Netflix, watch whatever. Plenty of other shows. There's a hell of a lot of good TV shows out there right now. So if there's a bad TV show on, don't waste your time. Couple more here. Busy when the show initially airs and forget to watch at a later time. No, I'm watching Smackdown. So as soon as Smackdown's done, I can watch 205 Live. It's not as though I have to run out the door as soon as Smackdown's over. I've got time, but just don't want to. And finally, watch enough WWE shows and do not have time for 205 Live. Absolutely check. So, I don't know how many we checked, but there's a lot of those that I said, yep, there's a reason why I don't watch 205 Live. That's a lot. There's a lot of excuses they gave there. All of them are pretty valid, and I probably checked 80% of them. So, that's pretty bad. I've got a lot of reasons why I don't want to watch 205 Live. And I'm sure many others do as well, but that survey there suggests that they know that 205 Live is struggling, they know that no one's watching it, and most likely they know that it's dying and probably it's time to cut their losses and it's not worth keeping it on an extra hour every week. Personally, I don't see the need for 205 Live. I never have. I don't see why we needed it. I think if you wanted to have 205 Live, it's got to be before SmackDown. It's got to be taped before and aired on the network beforehand, have SmackDown close it out. Because you're in the wrestling frame of mind. You haven't watched any wrestling yet. And 205 Live, it's a show where you see excitement. And after watching SmackDown, you've seen all the big stars on the show. You've watched Randy and Kevin Owens this week. And you flick over to 205 Live and it's Enzo looking like an idiot, cutting a promo with 5 goofs standing around him. I don't know. And then you see, high-flying matches. Yeah, it's good, but I think that's best suited on the undercard. That's why those types of matches were always featured in the first match or the second match, something like that. Not as you're, closing out your wrestling for the night. It's just poor placement. So right away they made the wrong call. Making it live wasn't necessary. They could have taped it on Raw, but if they're going to air it before SmackDown, making it live is probably fine. Now, I don't know if there's an agreement there with their network or anything like that they can't air anything live before SmackDown. I doubt it, as long as SmackDown still goes ahead. But I don't know what it is. Don't know. And also, they cancelled Talking Smack basically in favor of 205 Live, so it's not ideal there either. So overall, it's just not a good situation. It's just not good. 205 Live's just not good. The Cruiserweights are just not good. Hideo Itami's joining the division, which I don't know. I think that's a death sentence for Hideo. I think he could have been doing a lot more than that, but it does add some interest to it, I will say. And if you want to have someone come in to help it, he's probably the right guy. And I think they've also given up on Hideo Itami quite a lot. He's been so injury prone, been out with injuries more time than he's been in the ring for them. So I think because of that, they've relegated him a little bit to this role, hoping that he can stay healthy, putting him on the main roster to a degree, hoping he can stay healthy, and if he succeeds, maybe they'll give him something bigger to do, but I think this is just a way to, test him out, see how he goes, see if he's got the patience. And also, been rumours that he might want to go back to Japan, so I think they might be hesitant to do anything major with him as it is. But, so don't be surprised if 205 Live gets cancelled, maybe after WrestleMania or something like that. I don't know if they'll cancel the Cruiserweight division. I think that would be a waste. They've spent all this time building it up. I think you might as well keep going with it. And if they cancelled it, they've got so many guys that would be gone, who have nothing to do because they've been categorized as a cruiserweight, undersized, so it's difficult to really turn them into legitimate threats to a world title or anything like that down the line. You get pigeonholed into a certain group, and it's very difficult to break away from it. That's why I've always kind of hated the cruiserweight division as it is. It's never really been successful at all in the WWE. Never. And great in WCW, but, because that's, they position it well. They kicked off Nitro with the cruiserweights. High flying, great action, great wrestling. And then they went to the big stars towards the second half of the show. Whereas WWE, they just kind of stick a cruiserweight match because they have to in between whatever. In the third hour, they just put a cruiserweight match on because they have to. They clearly have no interest in it themselves. The fans have no interest, and why should we? WWE doesn't care. Why should we care? We don't. That's why no one's watching it. All right, Smackdown this week. Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan going back and forth again on the mic. Makes me wonder, is a heel turn coming for Shane? Or will Daniel Bryan get fired? Will Shane McMahon quit as the commissioner? Will he be fired as the commissioner? I don't know. It's an interesting storyline. I didn't like how Daniel Bryan, just before Survivor Series, said, hey, you and me, we have to talk about this whole Under Siege thing. And they didn't really address it again. They didn't bring it up on SmackDown the last couple of weeks, which is disappointing. They kind of turned their attention to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Would have liked for them to kind of address that. They've kind of forgotten about that. I didn't forget, though. But, so there's some dissension there, and I'm interested to see where that's going to go. Speaking of heel turns, Mojo Rawley had a big heel turn on Zack Ryder. I mean, this has been a long time coming. They finally went for it. Look, I don't think this is a great move for both guys. Mojo as a singles, I don't have any interest in Mojo Rawley whatsoever. Zack Ryder as a singles has never really been successful. I mean, could have been successful back in 2012, but they buried him, essentially. They ruined him. And ever since, he's been really struggled to recover. He's won the IC title and things like that, sure. So it's quite clear they see Mojo as the bigger star between the two. So very likely that Zack will get destroyed and be back down to where he was as the quintessential job guy of the brand, which kind of sucks for Zack. He's put in a lot of time. I don't think he's the greatest wrestler in the world, but he's in good shape, cuts an okay promo. He's had a lot of crowd reaction over the years. For him to be in this position, I'm sure he's going to be very frustrated. Now Mojo will probably leapfrog him and take that spot away from him. But I'm sure they'll have a nice little feud over the next month or so. Maybe they'll have a match at Clash of Champions and that'll be it. More than likely. The Singh Brothers, the Singhs, Jinder Mahal's two guys. Now, I don't know if this is a rumor, like I said earlier on with the other situation with 205 Live. Now, will the Singh Brothers be released? Now, Jinder Mahal essentially turned on the Singhs, quite similar to the way that Carmella turned on James Ellsworth. And the Singh Brothers put out a tweet saying, hey, thanks for 1 year. We've been here in the WWE for a year now. It's been great. Lots of ups and downs, whatever they said. It's been a great time. That type of tweet to me suggests they could be getting released. Maybe they've been written off TV. Maybe they're going to get repackaged as 205 Live guys. I don't know. But it's not looking good. It's not looking good. It's also not looking good for Jinder because realistically, the only thing that's been, only reason why he's been winning matches is because of the Singhs. So now you're going to be taking them away from him. It's going to be difficult to believe that he can beat anybody. Will they replace the Singhs for someone bigger and badder? I heard, I read someone on Twitter said, hey, what are the Authors of Pain joins Jinder and they just try and act like they're Indian? Wouldn't surprise me if the WWE tried to do that. I mean, yeah, but I think that's very possible if there was no Paul Ellering. But because Paul Ellering's there, I doubt that connection would happen. Because I doubt Paul Ellering would play well with Jinder in that type of role. So I would probably say no to that. But, I mean, I don't know. And also, you don't want to get two guys bigger and badder than Jinder anyways. It might overshadow him. Yeah, Jinder would have a really strong stable and would put him over big time. Might not be a bad idea, but it might overshadow Jinder just a touch. But yeah, so the Singhs, they might turn up next week and they'll act like nothing happened. They'll forgive them Maharaja and kiss his feet and beg for forgiveness, and they'll be back forever. But their tweet just kind of made me start to think, are they going to get fired? I don't know. And last but not least, for Smackdown, Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode. Now, when we left you for the podcast, I think Bobby Roode had just debuted or hadn't debuted. I kind of forget. But it was just starting to happen. Might have just been it'd been a couple months. He started feuding with Ziggler for a little bit. Yeah, so it's been a little bit of time. But now Bobby Roode looks as though he's going to be feuding with Baron Corbin for the US title going forward. But I just want to... I don't know. I'm just worried about Bobby Roode. I think turning him face after a really good heel run in NXT was a big mistake. Yes, I saw the glorious chance and thought, yep, that guy's got to be a babyface. When it really works so well as a heel. Quite clearly, the face run isn't working. I love Bobby Roode. I think he's great, but it's just... I don't know, man. It's just not going well. And putting him with Ziggler, who's got no momentum, now Baron Corbin, they're not giving him the right opponents either to kind of work with. And these opponents, it's making it very difficult for him to kind of get any momentum building and get anywhere. I think Bobby Roode should be main eventing SmackDown. I think he should be one of the top guys, but it doesn't feel like he's a top guy. Yes, he was involved in the Survivor Series match, fantastic, but unless he beats Baron Corbin for this US title, I don't know what's going to happen to Bobby Roode. I feel like he's just going to be doing nothing. Nakamura, was he even on the show this week? He did nothing last week, so what's going on with him? So, two of SmackDown's new top guys not doing a hell of a lot right now. And I know the focus right now is a lot on Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Maybe because of that, they've just got nothing right now for Nakamura. They'll give him a chance just to take a few weeks off, and they'll bring him back for something bigger later. Maybe he's going to team up with Randy Orton to take them on at Clash. Maybe. I've been hearing that rumor. But it just feels like they've forgotten about him a little bit. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. I mean, look at Ty Dillinger. Ty Dillinger has these 10 chants and whatever, and he's just been completely buried. He's nowhere to be found. He's a guy who's been buried. He's a guy who's been getting reactions, people chanting 10 for everything, and nowhere to be found. Now, I know they may be thinking about turning him heel, which I think would probably be a good idea as well. But, so it's a shame that they bring in these guys from NXT, and some people catch fire, and some people don't. But I think a big reason why they don't catch fire is because of creative. They just do something with them for a month and they forget about them. And you got to have these new characters on TV doing something prominent every week. Otherwise, they get forgotten about, and any crowd reactions start to dwindle. Nakamura is getting great reactions, and for them not to have a storyline right now for him that's a worry. Is it a lack of guys they've got on SmackDown right now? Are they lacking heels? Maybe. Are they lacking faces? I don't know. What's the deal? Baron Corbin, I think, has got to lose that US title soon. I'd love to see Roode take it from him. I have never been a Baron Corbin fan, and I will not be. He's terrible. Still terrible. Still don't like him. So for me, give it to Roode and let him go with it. And let Corbin chase it and be a whiny heel that he is, and go from there. But that is your SmackDown coverage for this week. We have some questions coming up soon. Before we get to our questions, a couple little gaming notes I want to touch on a little bit here. First of all, now last week we kind of did a bit of a mini suggestion box for Christmas. If you're thinking about buying some games for Christmas, what do I think? Now, a lot of the new games I've got I haven't played yet, so it wasn't quite ideal, but some of them I have, and we talked about them last week. I think World War II, W2K, NBA, FIFA, those types of games, South Park. So if you want to know my suggestions about those games, listen to last week's show. But this week, we've got one more game I want to chat about, and that's Need for Speed Payback. Need for Speed Payback got some really bad reviews. They've incorporated a lot of loot boxes into the game. Microtransactions has really plagued the game, which makes it kind of really dissatisfying to level up and complete races, because in Need for Speed Payback, when you do a race, you unlock a card, and you flip over the card, and you might get a upgrade to your brakes or upgrade to your engine. Acceleration will be improved. These types of things. That's great, but to get these upgrades, it's random luck. It's random luck. You might not get the upgrade you want. You can't upgrade the car how you want to. You've just got to try your luck and get these upgrades that you're looking for. It makes it difficult to try and get the car how you want it to be. But apart from that, it still is your typical Need for Speed racer. It has better storylines in a way that it's not real life people acting it out like the last Need for Speed. Your characters actually will talk and communicate this time. You can play as multiple different people in the game. They don't really play any different, but it's different characters to play as. So that kind of is cool. There's a more of an off-road aspect as well as on-road, which is good. That nightlife scene is still there, but it's not as prominent. It's not just nightlife. There's a lot of not like just street racing at night. There is a lot of daytime racing as well, going off-road, traveling around a bigger map, and not just in the city. A lot of open land to explore and drive through, as well as cities. So it's a bit more of a diverse game and a bit more of a diverse map. There's not a lot to really do around the city. Driving around, there's not a lot to do. I mean, there's some billboards and a few collectibles and the odd, speed check or something like that. Where you got to go through a certain, go through an area at a certain speed. Those kind of things, yeah. But other than that, there's not a lot really happening. So the world does feel a little bit empty at times. The racing, though, feels good. Your typical Need for Speed in terms of the racing. And the overall storyline, I don't mind it so far. They had a big heel turn in the storyline, I guess you could say. And they're kind of fighting to kind of work through that. Spoilers, but not really. But yeah, so the storyline so far is okay. Obviously you play Need for Speed for the racing. And I don't think this is the best racing game you could get right now. I definitely think Forza Horizon is a far better game, and if I'm going to compare Need for Speed to another game, it's definitely Forza Horizon. It feels as though they've tried to recreate Forza Horizon a little bit in their own way. Doesn't quite come close at all, but a lot of the reviews are saying 6 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't be that harsh just yet. I mean, I haven't finished the game. I think I've played 4 or 5 hours. I haven't, like I said, I haven't put the time in to kind of give you a full assessment. But I think 6 out of 10 might be a little harsh. I think maybe 7 might be where it's at. And if you're thinking about it for Christmas, I mean, obviously the Black Friday deals that just took place, you might have been able to pick it up for half price. Great. Half price definitely is the way to go. If you can get it for half price, your purchase will be fine and be warranted. I think you'll get the value there. Anything under that, it's fantastic. But full price, I would say no. I would say avoid it. But half price, I think, is a fair deal for Need for Speed. And I think 6.5, 7 is probably where the game is at. And I don't think Need for Speed's improving. I think it's probably going a little bit more downhill. But I don't mind this game. It surprised me a little bit because of the reviews I've read and a lot of the hate and criticism I've seen towards this game. I was expecting it to be a shit show. But so far, it's been okay. It's been better than I expected. I didn't expect much, so. Last but not least, just one little game on the PS4 that I've just purchased a few hours ago and actually started playing it. Now, a couple of years ago, you might remember a free game called Resogun that came out for PlayStation Plus when the PS4 came out initially. They gave this game out for free. You probably would have played it if you got the PS4 at launch time. This game is your arcade shooter where you've got to destroy all these ships flying at you, all these rocks coming at you. You got to avoid it all, blow them all away, and try and save these little humans on the map. Big boss fights at the end of the rounds. This game is made by the same people, Next Machinima, and it's plays pretty similar. A lot faster though, a lot faster, and a bit of a different style to it. Instead of moving around in a globe, you kind of progress through your levels in a linear fashion. I got it for half price. I think it was $13 Australian, probably $8 American. And I think it's pretty fun. I really enjoyed it. So it's a nice little arcade game. Check it out. And just these little games sometimes a lot of people miss. And unfortunately, the people who make this game have decided they're not going to make these types of games anymore because of poor sales. So I'd love for the people who make this game, I forget the company, the developer's name, I would love for them to reconsider that, because I personally love these types of games. Another one, Super Stardust. Love that game as well. And it's very frustrating. I've been actually getting really angry at this game, but at the same time, it's kind of fun at the same time. Really fun at the same time, I should say. So check it out. You might like it, but my little underrated, unknown, I guess you could say, suggestion of the day, or the week. There's a few that I probably should talk about from week to week. I should probably give you guys some little suggestions of what you could probably pick up as your next purchase. But that's certainly one that I've just recently picked up and have been enjoying. And other than that, I've obviously been playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate a little bit, trying to get through that one so I can get to Origins. So excited to play Origins. Syndicate so far is okay. It feels more like your typical Assassin's Creed. I don't mind the leveling up system they've got going on. Playing as the two characters is kind of a little bit more tedious and rewarding, I should say. Not rewardful, what the hell is that? But so that's kind of been the other game I've been playing as well. So, and a bit of Fortnite in between as well. Fortnite's fantastic. If you've never played Fortnite, you've got to get it. It's a lot of fun, especially with friends, and plenty of fun there. But yeah, so that's my gaming play for the week. We have some questions we're going to get into before the end of the show. If you want to leave a question, you can do so by leaving a question in the comment in the YouTube comment section down below. I apologize. I'm kind of really rusty this week. I've not been on my game today. It takes a while to kind of get back in the swing of things for a podcast. I haven't spoken for this long in one sitting for a while. So it's going to take me a few weeks to get back into the swing of things. But yes, so if you want to leave a question, you can do so in the YouTube comment section down below in this video. Also on the Facebook page, it is facebook.com/BrendenPlayz. Normally every Wednesday we put up the post, and you can leave your question there. It's pretty clearly labeled, a big LTT picture there, so you'll know when you see it. And also on the forums, as we said earlier on the show, BrendenPlayz.com/forums, absolutely free to join the forums. Lots of fun, and if you like talking about wrestling, it's a great place to do it. Okay, so let's get into it. And a big thanks to everyone that sent in a question for this week. I know with us being away for a while, I didn't expect so many questions, so fantastic to see everyone excited to see the podcast back, and lots of questions again for this week. And of course, if I didn't get to your question, I apologize. I try and pick out the best ones, so keep on sending them in, and I'll probably try and get to it next week. So first up, this question is from Brian Ernie. What does the future hold for the NXT Championship on Universe Mode? Well, right now, Bobby Roode is still the champion, and he will be going to Raw after Survivor Series, so he is officially debuting there. He will still be the champion, which means NXT does not have a champion. I guess what could happen is Shawn Michaels will try and find someone to beat Roode for the championship, but right now he's been trying to do that for a long time, so I think what Shawn Michaels might do is maybe hold a tournament. I think if I was, suggest something, hold a tournament. Whoever wins that tournament is clearly the best man in NXT. He's had to go through a lot of matches and then have that one big match, one last chance to get that championship from Bobby Roode, send him up to the main roster, or try and get Roode back down to NXT TakeOver, have that match. I think it'd be fantastic. Fantastic. And if it happens, Roode finally loses the championship, NXT will get a champion back, and Roode can continue to do what he does on the main roster. Probably won't hurt Roode too much, but it will certainly get NXT back on track. This one's from Matthew Ray. What do you think about Batista saying he wants to return full-time? I love it. Batista, probably the one wrestler that I liked the most when I was a kid. When I started getting into wrestling, he was probably the one guy that I saw. It stood out to me the most, and he really was a major reason why I got into wrestling. I think he was just larger than life, a superhero, such a dominant. He just looked like a freaking beast, man. Loved it. I got into wrestling October 2005, so I think he was feuding with Eddie at the time. So, yeah, and I really, really, really like Batista. I hated how he was treated in his comeback a few years ago. I never was hating on it. I was happy to see him back, happy to see him win the Rumble, happy to see him main event WrestleMania, all for it. Everything, happy, happy, happy. But it was just bad timing. Bad timing, probably gave him the wrong opponents. It was just bad booking. And then he kind of made up for a little bit with the matches he had with The Shield as part of Evolution. That was cool. I liked that. So, yeah, they made up for a little bit there. But for the most part, was just not successful. Now, I'm surprised he wants to come back. But I think he wants to come back and make things right. He wants to have a WrestleMania match with Triple H. I say let's do it. I know Triple H probably isn't interested in it. But, I mean, hell, you got Batista coming back. You gotta get it done. You gotta use this guy. If you can get any star power, I mean, for goodness sake, they brought back Goldberg. Hasn't been seen for years, 12 years or something. They brought him back. Batista's in movies right now. Guardians of the Galaxy, all these other movies he's doing. He's got mainstream exposure, and you wouldn't want to bring him back if he wants to come back, and not only come back for a 5-minute match like Goldberg, actually come back and do it right. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? Why would you not do that? It just doesn't make any sense. And WWE, I don't know, they blow my mind sometimes. I absolutely would 100% sign Batista today and bring him back at the Rumble, surprise entrant. Yeah, he doesn't win it, but somebody eliminates him from the Rumble, maybe a young guy, or maybe, Triple H, does something to try and screw over Batista, something like that, and go from there if they want to do that match. But get this guy back. Get this guy back if you can. Before it's too late, because his movie roles are going to pick up, and all of a sudden, he'll be too booked to even appear. So, Ryan Fleming, what's your favorite type of fast food? I don't think you can really beat a good, I don't know what you Americans would call it, but fries. But fish and chips in Australia is the best thing. I don't like fish, but I just like the hot chips, fries or whatever. Fantastic. I think it's simple, it's cheap, and it's always really, really good. Depends where you go, but most of the time, if you find a good place who does it right, it is the best. Look, I like KFC and all that, but we call it Hungry Jack's here, but it's actually Burger King. I like those, sure, but I think if you want to have a cheap, affordable, always really good, and plenty food, you get a $5 of hot chips. That's all you need. You can feed a whole family too. You get so much of it. This one's from Aaron Jordan. Now, this is the question I wanted to kind of answer. I'm glad he asked this one. So, he says, what's your reaction to EA's recent PR disaster with Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the closure of Visceral Games? Also, how do you stand with the loot boxes / microtransactions in general, with games like COD and Shadow of War having them? Look, Star Wars is a game that I've steered clear of. It is a freaking disaster, as you said. Terrible, terrible moves to basically make this game pay to win. Microtransactions are getting out of control. EA are probably the worst of them right now. Like we said it before with Need for Speed. To upgrade your car, you need to get microtransactions to unlock a loot boxes, or you need to finish a race to get a loot box. Why is it a lucky dip to get what you want? FIFA, if you want to do any good in FIFA Ultimate Team, you've got to spend thousands of dollars. NBA or 2K, they're no saints either. Their game is pretty bad. It is really, really bad at the moment. Microtransactions and loot boxes are slowly killing games. It's quite possible that every game from now on will have them. Unless, as a community, we take a stance and say, no, we don't want them, and we don't buy games that are plagued by them, such as Star Wars. And I think you find Star Wars Battlefront will still have good sales because it is a Star Wars, and a lot of casual fans probably won't care. But I think you'll find that it certainly won't be as good as the last game. And I think the negative PR they've had, or the Reddit press that they've had, and everyone, most downvoted topic of all time or something like that, something crazy like that, it's really going to hurt them. it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe really go in a different direction. I know they've said, hey, we're going to stop doing loot boxes for a period of time, but they're going to bring them back when the heat dies down and just keep on going. I don't understand at all why a single-player game such as Middle-earth Shadow of War would have loot boxes. I actually didn't get that game. I kind of wanted to get it, but if it is plagued by loot boxes again, I don't know. I am not against microtransactions. It's a great way for a developer to maximize their income and their profits, especially this day and age. Game sales are difficult to really get and generate. It's difficult to survive it. There's so many developers that are struggling. So if you have a hardcore base of fans, you've got people who really enjoy your game and want to give back, offering them cosmetic skins, offering them new features to the game, all these things is great. Don't mind it. DLC is fine. But when you offer someone, hey, you buy this gun for $5, it's the best gun in the game, it's going to give you an advantage over everyone else, you are going to play better because you got this gun and no one else, the majority of people don't have this gun. That's when it gets out of control. When it's pay to win, I hate that. That's what I hate about free games. Those free games, yeah, you get the game for free, you can play it online, but to unlock the best guns and the best equipment, you got to pay. You got to pay. Now, I get it. That's the way that the free games make their money, sure. But I'm not going to play that game for long. If I don't like the game, I'm not going to really invest money into it. And if a game's free, then I'm going to try and maximize my gameplay without having to pay money to begin with. So I think loot boxes as a whole needs to really die down. I don't mind having them. I think it's okay, but when it's getting to the point where you're getting this gun that you can only get in this loot box and you have to spend hundreds of dollars to get it, or you could get it your first time, it's unfair. It's essentially gambling in a way, but I'm not against gambling at all. I'm not a hater of gambling, but I think it is a really bad thing that's happening right now in gaming, and I'm really against it. And Star Wars, not buying it, I didn't really find the first one to be that great anyways, and I played the Star Wars beta, Battlefront 2 beta. I hated it, so I was never going to buy it to begin with. So, I mean, EA really need to take a look at themselves, because I think EA, the way they're going, they're going to be really struggling soon. Unless they get a big game coming out in the next couple of years that everybody universally loves, I think EA will be really rethinking their strategies going forward. All right, let's get through these next questions here. But I might talk about loot boxes again in the next few weeks, so we'll see. Next one's coming from Kevin Fox. If John Cena was to have one last match, who would you have him wrestle? To me, I think John Cena's greatest opponent was CM Punk. So if I could get anyone to wrestle Cena in his last match at a WrestleMania, it would be CM Punk. Absolutely. Their Money in the Bank match at 2011 was magic. They've had some great matches since that as well. Love it. Kevin Fox also says, if you could bring back any wrestler from the dead, who would it be? I've been watching 05 WWE. I've kind of haven't watched it as much as I would like to, but I've watched up until October. So I just finished, what pay-per-view was it? I can't remember, but I'm up to around about the No Mercy pay-per-view on 2005. And right now we're seeing Eddie Guerrero and Batista start to feud. I think Eddie Guerrero was gone a bit too soon. I think, he had a lot more years in the tank as a top guy. I think a good 5 years. Would have loved to have seen Eddie Guerrero in his prime still as a top guy in WWE. I would have loved to have seen him for a little while longer. So I know that's kind of a common answer, but for me, he's someone I feel as though could have really taken it to the next level, but unfortunately was gone too soon. So I'll pick him. This one is from Aaron Jordan again. What do you make of Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom? Great for New Japan, great for wrestling as a whole. Smart move by Jericho. He gets to have a big money match somewhere else, continue to build his brand away from WWE. Also, probably gets him a few brownie points in terms of the marks and the wrestling fans. Hey, I'm doing this big match. I'm not just a WWE guy. I care about the business, blah, 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 blah. And there's a few brownie points that I'm sure will be given back to him for his cruise and any other endeavors that he decides to do. So it's a smart move by Jericho. And it's a big match. I'll be checking it out. I won't watch the rest of the show probably, but I will definitely watch this match. He also wants to know, Aaron Jordan, do you think WWE will reintroduce Pyro anytime in the near future? Doesn't seem to be the case. It's not looking good in terms of Pyro because they keep on cutting costs. If they're thinking about getting rid of 205 Live, they're cutting network shows. They're really thinking about cutting as much cost as they can. It doesn't look like Pyro is going to be coming back. This one is from Best in Class. He wants to know, have you ever thought about bringing back your GMO for 2K18 NBA? Absolutely. I actually played a lot of GMO this year on 2K18 as Philadelphia 76ers. That's my new NBA team. I love Ben Simmons. I think he's great, obviously being Aussie. Got to support Aussies. So 76ers is my new team. So I played through a GMO as the 76ers. Really enjoyed that. I probably won't bring it back because the problem is that you bring it back NBA when NBA first comes out, and you get a couple of weeks, and then 2K18 WWE comes out, and it falls off the face of the earth, NBA. So it's difficult. He's got a lot of questions, but he's got a couple more here from him. Should the UK guys go to the Cruiserweight division? I don't think anyone should go to the Cruiserweight division, to be honest. And one more from him. AJ Styles or Shawn Michaels, who is better? Wow. Well, in terms of the biggest star, it's obviously Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels as well, he started in the 80s, had great matches in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and all the way up till his last match in his career. So Shawn Michaels really was a top guy, for a majority of his career, had excellent matches for a long time against so many different opponents, could always make someone look great. AJ Styles is definitely very similar, but the only thing for AJ is he kind of did it in TNA and hasn't had, he's had longevity. He started in WCW, so he's had a 17-year run, but hasn't had, that elite status that a Shawn Michaels has. So definitely love AJ Styles, but I think I'd have to give it to Shawn Michaels right now. But I guess who would I rather watch? I don't know. It's tough. I like both a lot, but I probably would still go with Shawn Michaels. This one is from Bart. What is your favorite year in WWE history? Well, it's interesting because your favorite year in WWE history might not be the best year in WWE history. It's your favorite year for a number of reasons. I think for me, I really liked 2006, 2007. I don't know which one. It kind of is a bit of a blur to me what's the difference between the 2 years. I say that because, obviously, as I said earlier on, I got into wrestling late 2005. So I was a young fan, 12, 13, getting into wrestling. Actually, no, I was 10, sorry. 10, 11 years old, getting into wrestling. Just loved it. Just wanted to watch as much as I could. Couldn't watch pay-per-views at the time. Could only wait for the pay-per-views to come out on DVD to get them 3 months later. I tried to watch every Smackdown and Raw every week. I loved watching it. It's just at a time where I just loved wrestling so much. So it probably wasn't the best year in WWE. I'm sure someone would say, oh man, 2006 sucked. Yeah, probably did, but I loved it. And as a fan, it was a big reason why I got into WWE. I just loved watching it. And last one from Bart. Last one for the show. Whose WWE games do you enjoy more, THQ or 2K? It's got to be THQ. I think 2K's best game was 2K14, and for the most part, it was basically THQ's game with W2K branding. 2K18's a good game, no doubt about that. It's certainly getting there, but they've really had a rocky start. The last few games have kind of been up and down. So definitely THQ has delivered a lot more games. They've had a lot more time, a lot more better games. Obviously, Smackdown vs. Raw games were excellent. Love those games up until 08. After that, didn't care for it. And then even the early games from that, the Smackdown games as well, the GameCube games, a lot of great games. So they made a hell of a lot of great games. 2K, still early days, but haven't really made a fantastic game on the current generation consoles yet to really put them in the same category as THQ right now. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have time for this edition of the podcast. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, leave a like on it, subscribe to see more episodes of the podcast every single Thursday. Leave a question for next week's episode in the comment section down below, the YouTube, Facebook page as well, of course, on the forums. Check all that out. Survivor Series this weekend, Saturday, 2 PM Eastern Standard Time, 7 PM UK time. Hopefully I get it right, because I know there's daylight savings. It's either been removed or added, I don't know, I forget, for America, so I need to kind of work out my bearings a little bit there, but we should be okay. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. Hopefully you can make it. Hopefully it's a big show. Hopefully you do enjoy it. Looking forward to seeing it. Looking forward to sharing it with you, and can't wait for it. So thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you all next Thursday.